Okay, and we're live. So welcome to the next TADSummit Revisited. We've got Doug Tait from Oracle. He presented at TADSummit on the programmable network. So we're just going to head straight into the questions, as TADSummit Revisited is all about giving a deeper dive into what was presented. So Doug, kicking off with the first question, which do you think is more important to a telco? The APIs or the services enabled by the APIs?
The APIs. That's the short answer. The long answer is I believe telcos think it's the services. But we have a history here of cultures, right? We know how telcos have, I don't want to say screwed up services, but have made them more difficult than what they are. Yet you go to the folks in the IT space, and we see what a wonderful thing they can do with services. We see the result of this around OTT. And so I think it's really important that the telcos themselves encapsulate the API or encapsulate the network functionality, the API that's being exposed out for developers to develop services. So I think at first glance, the quick knee-jerk reaction I had was services. But when you think about it, no, you want that API because you want to have, hey, they're good at network, we're good at services, let the two meet right in the center.
Exactly. So part of what you're saying there is it's really important to have that ecosystem, both internally in consuming the APIs with very close partners, and then the sort of broader third-party opportunities. And we mustn't forget customers, because customers can use APIs as well.
Oh yes, yeah, it's very key, and that's where I think we see new service growth, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's a good one. So moving on to the next question, Doug. Which APIs do you think are the most important? Network functions or business and operational support functions being exposed?
Business and operational support. The boring ones.
Yeah,
right?
You got it.
We want network functions. We want to do the messaging and the calling. And so we know that's going to be there.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, how do we make money at it? You know, that's the problem. We can't sell it. We can't make money at it. What good is it? But let me add a little more twist in there too, and something we're looking at Oracle. OSS, BSS, great. We need to have those operational support for billing and charging and rating. That has to be a fundamental part of our application. Mm-hmm. But we're taking one step further as we look down in the future around big data. And again, plug for Oracle here, but big data, what are the analytics? So we see, I kind of piece it together in three areas, and analytics and policy falls in the IT domain. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily network stuff, but how do you do that stuff? So I see for full decision-making service processes, you need to have analytics and policy as part of that interface. So that's part of that OSS BSS story as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, good point. So for a telco, should they focus initially on internal APIs or both internal and external consumption of APIs?
External.
External. Yeah. Full stop.
And the reason being, because we know how we trust or don't trust.
Yep.
Our own internal departments.
Exactly.
And when they build something for the external use, they'll build in the security, the authentication, they'll debug it, they'll make sure it works, and then of course they'll all be used for internal consumption anyway.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Ring out those APIs and make them great for external use. They'll be awesome for internal use.
That's a good point. Now, do standards-based APIs matter?
Standards matter.
Mm-hmm.
But we see the history here with GSMA and how much we love them, or I know how much you love them. They do. I mean, I share your angst there. They really piss me off most of the time because it takes so stinking long for them to produce anything.
Exactly.
Now you turn to the IT space and they've done a great job or a good job.
Yeah.
Good job. A little bit better than mediocre. But and we see good standards bodies around like the Java community process.
Absolutely, yeah.
I go back to my C days and C++, even .NET, the de facto standards, much better than what's been done in the network space.
Exactly.
I think standards matter, but man, they got to learn what they do in the IT space to make it really important. I think it's always the second priority for them. Great, they develop a standard, but then do they standardize on those APIs And that's where they draw the line and say, no, they need to take one step further. So standards mattered. Having them standardized APIs, I don't have much hope now. Let's push that back into the IT department and have that.
Exactly. It's almost, I mean, one of the things when we look at the web, quite often you just do it, and then through learning, through basically working with customers or users, you work through the mistakes, and then de facto standards appear. And sometimes those de facto standards get ratified through a standards body, with changes and modifications and sort of making it more generally usable. But action happens before standardization quite often. While with telcos, there's always, I feel, in the telco industry, until it's fully ratified, you don't do anything.
Right. And de facto is not bad as long as no one gets hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's it.
Certain companies still piss me off because they still step on my toes, but but yeah, the way of trying to make everyone happy all the time, and this ratification process.
Exactly, that's it. And it's always vested interests within the vendor community rather than it being the end user driving what the standards need or additional features or capabilities. So quite often I see that, I mean, great example with WebRTC at the moment. We have all these discussions going on about touch tones and timings, and I just don't see developers even being included in that discussion. And you know what? They don't care.
No, they don't. But you take it a step further beyond the vendor, and I even get annoyed when you have the likes of an AT&T, Verizon, as much as are, but they'll take the standard and they'll make their AT&T version or Verizon version of this. And all of a sudden, now you're just twisted off, and hey, great place for things like session border controllers.
Exactly. Hey, I think you've got a few of those. Cool. So moving on, and it's sort of related. Should telcos build their own APIs or partner with global API aggregators who've done quite a good job? I mean, Nexmo, Twilio, Tropo, etc., in engaging developers.
It's an interesting, I guess, more philosophical question, and so I'll give it what I think is the best answer would be to build the APIs according to reflect the business model.
Yeah.
So for the most part, if it has to do with their business and their business only, they should build their own APIs.
Yep.
If they are dealing with a, say, developer community or partners, they should then turn to them and either build them together. If you're dealing with a MVNO to a carrier or an IPX situation, then involve those communities.
Exactly. So it's build the APIs appropriate to the business model you're trying to fulfill.
Exactly. Cool. So let the business model go first, and then say, oh yeah, I need APIs to support that.
Yep, great. So moving on from the sort of API piece, more onto WebRTC. So what do you consider to be the main benefits WebRTC brings to telcos?
In the big picture, it's the mindset. The telcos have been very focused on how they can handle that end device, control the end device, control the consumer at the far end, and now it's brought on a whole new web mindset. They go, oh, it's not about that, iPhone here. Now we're looking at the web, and to deal with a different means and form of communication. So that's rocking the boat a little bit. I still think they're trying to get their head around it, but I think it's changing the paradigm wonderfully.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's a very good point in terms of changing the mindset. It's not necessarily a technology or a particular service benefit, because let's face it, it's IP communications. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about now. Whether you use a particular standard, it's just horses for courses. So what you're actually saying is it's helping within a communications framework understand a web-based model.
Right. And they should, the core business we have here is communications. Yeah. And now we have a different type of endpoint, and now we still have that business model that now reaches out to a web-based interface.
Yep, cool. So what do you think are the main use cases for telcos using WebRTC?
Today, what we're rolling out is around contact centers and conference call. And so that's I would say the low-hanging fruit. But what I really want to see, or the future around where we want WebRTC to go, or the communications to go, is to make your life simpler, my life simpler. I just did this. I just got a bank loan for my house. Oh man, I had to go to the bank 6 times just to sign papers.
Yeah.
You're rebuilding your house,
Mm-hmm.
prime contractor, and who a bunch of subs, and it's like now all this interaction you're doing. Well, a lot of that, there's a time and a place for personal interaction.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you have to go to the bank 6 times.
Exactly.
If I'm settling on a house, yes, I need to be shaking hands with the banker and all that. But then make my life simple around that. Bring in the communications there. Take that, let's bring all the insurance information to one web page. Let's bring all the banking information to one web page. Let's bring all the house building to one web page.
Exactly.
I think I don't think, we know it's not a technical issue right now. I think it's all trust.
Exactly. And that's a very good point, because I did something that, with the current renovation I've got, I did a group text across several of the general contractor and some of the subs. And you could see it, all of a sudden it's like, what? You can do that? And I just respond and everybody gets the same message. Oh! So
you're talking about just texting.
Yes. Well, it's MMS. It's done as an MMS when you do the group text, but yeah.
Baby steps.
Exactly, it is. They keep wanting to call me. They keep wanting to talk.
Well, but that's a good point, though, and this is SMSing and texting is still the fundamental form.
Messaging, yeah.
Messaging. And hey, so here's our bully pulpit to the developer community. Can we somehow make that easier for the web community? I want to be able to go to my prime contractor with a very simple based type of interface and let them build that GUI interface.
Yeah, exactly.
We're a ways off from that, but that's a good direction to go. And maybe text is great. Do the MMS. Let's get everyone on a Google type Hangouts, kind of.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, especially with some of it where you're getting called over because they want to ask you about something that's just because you visually need to see it while they're there. Right. And again, I think there's a ton of stuff that could be done there, because especially with these projects, you just want it done as fast as possible. So if you can give them an answer within minutes rather than hours or a day, it just gets the project finished so much sooner.
Well, that's to your point. It's like, why does he have of course he'll have to come out in person. But for the most part, hey, I can take a picture of that. I'm doc scanning all the time. Push that to a web page, as opposed to emailing where we get lost, or push to a central place. And so there's the tools are there.
That's it. Absolutely. Now, you gave some great case studies. So, like Tito, Telia. So what were some of the IoT use cases that you mentioned?
I think where we see the fundamental use case around IoT, or where it's going, is all around device management, device configuration, device consolidation. It's all, if you talk about IoT, how do I define an end device and make it work? Then it trickles down from there. How do I then monitor, report back, get the information? I find the interesting thing we see in communication is I can build the device, end device, provision it, put it out there, activate it. But in the protocol space, or the programming space, we fall back to things like SIP, and now diameter has become the de facto standard for doing all messaging within the network. I'm going, okay, is that an answer? I don't know, but it seems to be, because diameter used to be for authentication.
Correct.
For everything.
Yeah.
So now I'm doing my IoT out there. I have all my devices out there. How do I communicate with them? Oh, everyone's generating diameter now. It's like, well, I'm grandstanding, but gets back to how we see the general use case now is all around the device and how I manage the device.
Exactly, and that, I think that hits a very important point around the whole sort of operational aspect. So again, for the case studies you gave, you mentioned sort of savings, that were achieved. Not absolute values, but sort of rough percentages would be nice around, sort of, what was achieved through consolidating platforms, but also through improving operations.
This, well, you hit it around the head. It's operational, or OpEx.
Gotcha.
And they tackle that problem and then they move on and forget about it, right?
Yeah.
So I think in the cases that we show with Telia, where they're able to take 3 platforms and get it down to 1. Does that mean a 3-to-1 savings? It's more about 50% savings, because you had there's still overhead involved.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was great. Hey, job done, clean interfaces, somewhat reduced staff, and now let's move on. But I look at that specific thing. It's hard to put a dollar value on. These guys don't like to talk
Yeah, no, I understand. But if you can, just to understand there's a 50% saving, that gives, that this is significant.
It is significant.
So moving to your keystone case study, which is Telecom Italia. And they've been at this for like 10, 12 years now.
Yep.
So what are the most popular APIs, given all the APIs that they've deployed over the years?
Okay, I'll make you guess.
Messaging.
Bingo. Believe it?
Yeah.
We're back to SMS. We're back to your MMS here.
Yeah. But I still see in everyday experiences, there's so many applications.
There is.
Like in CRM.
Yep. And for them, they're dealing with regulatory issues there in Europe where okay, I crossed the border, I need to send a message, or you use this much your threshold, I need to send a message. So just for doing the normal phone calling stuff, they're now sending messages, So, exactly. And the basic messaging, but it comes back to that trust issue, right? So I use the Facebook Messenger. I use SMS. Who do I trust? Now, Facebook messaging is great. I love it because it comes through all sorts of uses. But if I'm actually going to make sure that Alan's going to get that message, I SMS.
Oh yeah. And I also, especially with real time, where there's an interactive, you have presence. So I can see you're there, I message you, I can see it's been delivered. It's having that whole confirmation. Then, Alan's got it. I know he's there. He's most probably busy, or he's ignoring me. One of the two, why he hasn't responded now. Oh, he's typing. Oh, no, he's not.
Yeah, maybe I get a little too much information on the messenger. He's in the bathroom now. Oh, no. He might.
I know. That's why I always start a call, like a Skype call, audio only, and then add voice,
That's good.
Dear. So just to wrap up then, before the Telecom Italia use case, I mean, they focused on making APIs easy.
Yeah.
So do you think offering scripts or software as a service, so abstracting it even beyond the API to certain service primitives that you can just grab some HTML code and paste it onto your web page or into your service, so like some PHP code, do you think abstracting it even beyond the APIs makes sense?
Oh yeah, yes, and that we're dealing with, even on my heart. I love developing. I love coding. I love APIs, but for the most part, I know that if I can script it, I'm not going to code it. Exactly. If I can do a cut and paste on HTML, in other words, however I can simply get that job done faster, makes a lot more sense.
Exactly.
Now it takes us back to the why we do it, and that's around the business purposes of it, and who's going to be using it. Now the final answer there is it's good to kind of offer all this stuff up, but for the most part, it's going to be used internally by my internal developers. And then again, if I make their life easier, but I see it as a hierarchical tiered approach. Yeah, the simple.
Exactly.
But I'm dealing with marketing people or salespeople. You want that to be as simple as possible.
Exactly. And if it's trying to address a community that's heavily web development centric, then abstracting beyond the API. And it's like, I always sort of refer back to the IdeaMart case study, where they have IdeaMart apps and IdeaMart Pro. The Pro is the APIs. The apps is actually just simple web forms you complete, so non-coders can use those capabilities.
Yeah, so your prime contractor on your house.
Exactly.
Can somehow use a WYSIWYG to
you got it. Right. Yeah.
The banker that I want to deal with, the guy right in the bank here can somehow build that communication. I think that's the the holy grail. That's where we want to get to. That's now we. I think we're ways off there, but not to overlook those low-level APIs or those low-level interfaces or that Java development, because at a certain point you really need to go in with a scalpel.
Absolutely. I mean, it's horses for courses, but it's, as always, once you get to the mass market, because I always feel the history of APIs, SDKs, just exposing telecom capabilities has been too complex, too complex, too complex, too complex, too complex. It's getting it so it's so damn simple that anybody can use
99% of people can use it.
Exactly.
That 1% Java developer, that's important, but he's often doing something, yeah.
And it's a very specific application, which has a big business impact, but again, it's that sort of balance. So that's great. Excellent, Doug. Well, this is great. Again, this is the whole point. It's just a chat, get into some deeper sort of Q&A that we weren't able to do in the packed schedule we had for TADSummit. So again, thanks so much, Doug.
Certainly my pleasure. I am looking forward to the next TADSummit.
It's going to be great.
Or TADHack, I guess. It's going to be TADHack.
Oh, we've got TADHack this weekend, and we're going to have TADHack Global. We've got 30 locations running in parallel. We've got Africa on board, South Africa, Zambia. I'm hoping we can get Nigeria. So we're going to have lots and lots of locations.
This is very, very, very exciting. This is great.
It's going to be fun. Again, thanks so much, Doug.
So